to see St. Thomas on a cold and dreary New York afternoon. Something in the air was oh so rare. I don't know what it was, but I know that it's still right there. And I'm scared, Lordy Lord, I'm shaking, I'm terrified. Never been much on religion, but I sure enough just fell down on my knees.
Burton Cummings is his name. He was a millionaire by the time he was 20 years old with a Guess Who. He's currently playing at the Northwood Inn at the Winter Garden Room. And we welcome to the program.
Thank you, Bob. It's nice to see you again.
Now, let's see. I think you told me you were a millionaire by the time you were 20, weren't you?
No, not 20. I was...
When did you make your first million, then?
Took till I was almost 25.
Holy cow, that long.
Well, you know, it takes longer for some of us than it does for others.
You started with a Guess Who, though, when you were 18.
Yeah, I actually got the phone call when I was 17 years old. I was with a band called the Devrons in Winnipeg, and we had just come back from Minneapolis. We had driven 500 miles there to record on 4 tracks and 500 miles back in the winter. And they phoned me up and said, come on down, we want to talk to you. And I thought that they were asking me down there to give advice or to help me with connections with my own band. You know, I was 17 at the time. And when I walked into the room, there was Bachman and Cale and Peterson and Bob Burns, the manager of the group at the time. And they asked me to join the band, and I said, well, I'd like to, guys, but the Beatles asked me last week, because I really didn't think it was real. You know, I had no, that just doesn't happen to somebody 17 years old. They were already very established stars, having toured the States and had shaken all over as a top 10 hit, so I couldn't really believe it. So by the time I was 18, I was on the road with the Guess Who.
Did it come as a shock? I mean, you know, there's that whole lifestyle. There's the hotels, there's the road, there's the groupies, there's the whole thing, the whole culture. Did it come as a shock, or were you prepared for it?
I must admit, you know, without sounding too naive, it did come as a bit of a shock for me, because I did a lot of my growing up on the road those first few years with the Guess Who. From the time I was 18 to 21, I really got my eyes opened a lot, you know.
Did you partake or observe?
I partook.
Anything that was moving was there.
Sure, man. You know, I'm no Buddhist monk. I had a great time. I like the road. I still like the road. I like the lack of responsibility. But in the initial days, I was, you know, I was a little intimidated because the guys in the band were older than me. They were all about 4 or 5 years my senior, and they kind of took me under their wing and showed me the ropes a bit. It was brutal, though. That first year, 1966, we were doing 4 60-minute sets a night. I was doing all the singing, so we would do 60 minutes, 10-minute break, 60 minutes, 10-minute break, etc., etc. And we would play every night, literally. One time we did 28 shows in 30 nights. Well, 28 different places in 30 nights, 4 shows a night. But so that's well over 100 hours of singing.
Guys like Rod McEwen lost their voices because of rock and roll. How did you pace yourself? I mean, you're singing at the reviews. We all agree, singing better now than perhaps you did 20 years ago.
Cross my fingers. I think so. How I paced myself was I did everything wrong for a singer. I really. I think that the constant use of it is much better than trying to pace yourself and say, oh my God, how am I going to take care of my throat and really be cautious and everything. I mean, I smoke too much, I drink too much, I stay up too late. Although I know now, after having sung all these years, I know how, as a professional singer, as what I would call a smart singer, how to still hit the notes if I'm a little hoarse, or how to, so that the crowd doesn't know the difference, but I can, you know what I'm saying? I won't take any chances with it.
Yeah.
And also too, I think constant work is the best thing for a singer. These guys make me laugh. They say, oh, you know, if I only had 3 months off, I'd really get my chops together. Man, 3 months off is the worst thing you can do for the voice, I think, you know.
Is Burton Cummings at where he would like to be at right now? I mean, when you were back at 18, did you ever think that, you know, movies, independently wealthy, wife, that kind of a life would be a farm outside of Victoria? Would that be Burton Cummings' life?
I'm pretty happy, you know, I'm pretty happy being me. I have other things that I still want to do. I still want to do more acting, and I have been taking private coaching in Los Angeles. I like acting a lot. I like comedy a lot. We just finished a special for First Choice for cable TV, and it got critical acclaim beyond my wildest dreams.
Now you play, what, 5, 6, 7 roles?
Excuse me, I played about 8 guys. I played a talk show host, and then I had all these guests that came on. I was Burton as the host, and Burton was host to Fats Domino, Chubby Checker, Gene Pitney, Roy Orbison, Presley, and then we did this other thing about a spoof on My Dinner with Andre, and it was My Dinner with Rodney, and I did all the split screen stuff, which was brand new for me.
I've read somewhere that you have an encyclopedic mind for rock and roll stars, hits, records, who recorded in what year.
Kind of, yeah. It's semi-photographic with that kind of thing.
Now, I mean, if somebody just gave you a year, could you come up with the #1 tune that year?
Probably, sure.
68.
68. Gosh, flower power time. 68 was Lady Madonna, I guess. Lady Madonna, the Beatles, and the other side was... What was the other side of Lady Madonna? The Inner Light. No, that wasn't a big hit record, but Lady Madonna was 68, I think.
Recorded
was by the Beatles.
By the Beatles.
Sung by Paul McCartney on Capitol Records, written by Paul and John.
So you don't need that computer you've got in your house in L.A.
Well, it never forgets. I sometimes do.
Do you really talk to that?
Yes, I'm learning how to speak to it in about 4 languages. I'm learning integer, basic, and a couple of other... There's a language called AppleSoft, and then there are a million. There's another one called Pascal, and it's just like the equivalent of learning Spanish and French and Italian, and there are different ways to talk to it. But I knew, see, with computers, like now I'm fascinated by it, and I love it and everything, but I knew within the first 10 days that I wasn't going to be working for NASA, sending these cats to,
Thank goodness.
to the moon, you know. I think you really have to be about 6 or 7 years old right now at this stage in history to get really right into the computer syndrome, because we're already too old to pick up on how fast it's moving, you know.
Burton Cummings has been my guest. We could talk for hours as we have in the past, but it's great to see you again, and you're doing such a great show at the Winter Garden Room that if you've missed it, he's going to be there all next week, right through until next Sunday. Burton Cummings, thank you for being my guest.
Nice to see you, Bob.
Nice to see you again.
Pleasure.